Now with back to school in full swing, memories started to flood back to me. And I started to get a hankering for a grilled cheese, but not just any grilled cheese, the Judge's grilled cheese. Let me explain. Now one of my longest running friends, Joe, used to live down the street from me and he had a more fun house. So after school, we'd always go hang out at his place. Now his mother was a power woman, at the time a district attorney, later to go on to become a powerful judge. Needless to say, she was a busy woman, so finding her at the house after school was not always a common thing. This wasn't exactly the house you'd run home and have a buffet of food waiting for you. But every now and then she'd be there early after school. And when she was, she'd make us this grilled cheese that I still think about to this day. And it starts with a couple slices of sliced big loaf Italian bread, so you can get some large sandwich slices from it. Some Genoa salami, sliced thin but not super thin. We're going to make this crispy, so you kind of want a little meat on the bone. And then of course our mozzarella. And I know it all seems basic, but it's the method that always stood out to me. This isn't just a salami and mozzarella sandwich, it's a fried salami and mozzarella sandwich. So let's head on over to the stove. So I'm just gonna use a griddle. You can use any sort of cast iron pan or anything, and we're gonna get that hot. And once it's hot, I'm gonna slap on some of that salami, as much as I can. In this case, I can fit about 8. And then I'm gonna place some weights on there. You don't have to do that, but if you have them, it's nice to be able to do. And then we're going to let them fry. And what I'm looking for is browning around the edges. Those little edges starting to crisp up, develop some caramelization. That's what we're really looking for. And the back end of the griddle is a lot hotter, so that's browning first. So I'm gonna take the weights off, and I almost want the caramelization like a little spotty so it doesn't over crisp up when we go and make the sandwich later. So the back gets flipped first because it's done first, and then I'm just gonna flip whenever they're ready. See how there's just like a little spotting in the center and around the edges? It's kind of what I'm going for in the first side. Any ones that aren't browning evenly, just rotate them towards the hot spots. And then once they're crisp on both sides, but not charred to hell, we want them crisp but tender. And I'm gonna create these stacks of 4 pieces of salami to almost form somewhat of a patty, which is very reminiscent of like a Taylor ham, egg and cheese that's popular in Jersey. In this case, it's just salami, but it's equally as delicious. Now I'm gonna throw another 4 slices on there, so that's gonna give us about 3 of those patty stacks. Flip them, get them crisp, stack them up, and once they're all crisped up and stacked, get them onto a plate. And you see how the pan is smoking and kind of overheated? We're gonna turn the heat down a little bit. We're gonna wipe that grease out of the pan, and then we're gonna place in our bread, and we're going to toast it. The judge toasted it in the toaster. She thought toasting it in the grease made it too greasy, but we're gonna adapt it and make it somewhat in the style of how I make my grilled cheeses. So I'm gonna toast the bread on one side, then flip it and toast it on the other, and then I'm gonna cover each side of the bread in that fresh mozzarella. Just make sure you get enough in there to make it super gooey in the end. And then we're gonna take those salami stacks, and I'm gonna slightly overlap the 3 just to fit the length of this long sandwich bread. Now we can close the sandwich up, and this is where I'll deviate a bit and treat it like my normal grilled cheese, which if you know, when I ran my food truck, we used mayo to toast the buns instead of butter. You just want the lightest, thinnest layer of mayo. That's gonna do the trick. And then we'll give it a flip. Mayo that other side, let that bottom toast, and then flip it again until both sides are toasted nice and golden brown. And then we're just gonna flip it constantly until the cheese is fully melted. Once we see that cheese is melted, everything's looking nice, the bread is golden and crisp, then we're gonna transfer that over to a wire rack, allow it to settle for about a minute, then we can give it a cut. And the cross section even looks like the judge yelling at me and my friend when we were getting into trouble. It was salty, it was crispy, it was gooey, and it's a simple grilled cheese that I'll always remember. Now, it's not some mind-blowing invention. It might even be something in the world of which you've seen before. But it's not memorable for its content, it's memorable for its context. Not everyone in the world's life is conducive to cooking as much as me or your grandma might. But everyone I knew growing up had at least a few tricks up their sleeves. And sometimes, someone you least expect makes you something so good and satisfying that it sticks with you forever. And maybe you don't have all the time in the world to cook, but if you just have a few recipes you're good at, a few that you can lean on, and you're generous enough to share them, you may have an impact on someone that lasts forever. And that's what makes food a beautiful thing. Recipe's gonna be down in the description. Like I said, I'm in Italy right now. I may take next week off. I may throw up a rerun. I'm not sure yet, but otherwise I'll see you at the beginning of October. That's all that I have today. I'll see you next time. Until then, take care of yourself and go feed yourself.